Welcome back and enjoy part two of our interview with
to
Howard
teach
Tenn.
them the fundamental things. And then where Dave would come in, and Dave, how long have I been telling you the best place to invest right now is looking at partials, especially for new beginners. If they don't take Kevin's course, right, you will learn partial in Kevin's course. But if you want to start, I think right now partials are probably one of the best places to be. But I'm looking at it from a securities point of view, because I call it the best put on the interest rate on the mortgage, because there are going to be people who have invested and they want to get rid of this stuff, or they need money to hold on. And if you've got dry powder, you're in the best position. But once again, those of you who are listening or watching the YouTube video, this is, I can teach you the big picture, but you will steer there and say, okay, now you tell me the big picture. What am I supposed to do? And then my answer to you is go to Kevin, takes Kevin course. I think you're having a special. So I was shocked how affordable that was. I mean, if you can't even put that in, I would say I tell people, I don't give financial advice except for one. Based on your knowledge, don't do it. That's the only financial advice I give.
I'll tell you with partials, and Dave loves partials, and he's sold a number of those. If Dave likes to buy the whole notes and sell partials, he's been doing that for a long time. And many of my clients have purchased those partials that he was offering. And as things work, last night, I had one of my Wednesday night Zoom sessions with my student clients. And I had a student who bought a note 13 months ago, performing extremely well. Excuse me. She created the note. This is a note origination on a manufactured home, performing brilliantly for 13 months. But she wanted to cash out some money for other investments and things like that. And to your point on partials, this property now is worth $100,000. I'm rounding here. The gentleman who's the borrower owes about $39,000, and she was just selling a simple partial just over 3 years for $15,000.
Yes.
And the person who buys that partial, so everybody listening, if you're new to this podcast, because we're getting a lot of new listeners, but if you've been hearing us before, you know what partials are. Let me explain a little bit. A partial is just buying a portion of the note. This person had signed a 20-year loan, and they've paid 13 months. Okay, so there's a lot of time left in that loan, just under 19 years. She didn't sell the whole note. She just sold a portion of it, enough of a portion to get the $15,000 she was looking to get out of it. The investor who invests that $15,000, their investment is backed by a $100,000 house. So even if Howard's what he was saying there is, it's likely that we're going to see asset prices going down, including real estate. How safe is that investor at a $15,000 investment? By the way, making almost a 10% return, backed by a house that's worth 100. What if it drops to 80? Still safe, still insulated.
It's so basic. You are an investor, you're not a speculator. So you're investing in these payments backed by a high value asset. It drops, who cares? You're still covered.
Yeah.
That's what it's very, very basic.
Yeah. And I've seen too, and you guys can comment on this. I'm amazed sometimes at people who go into these investments blind. They hear a little bit about notes. I've got a little bit of a real estate background. I get it. I know notes now, and they go and buy these notes. And the prices some people are paying for these notes who really don't understand the business, they are going to get burned. There is no question in my mind. I mean, I spend my days going through due diligence one-on-one with my clients to prevent them from making those mistakes. But unfortunately, there's other people that are out there doing that. So they're going to need to cash out all of their notes at a distress level, or start to sell some partials to do that. So I agree. David and Howard, go ahead. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I couldn't put it any better. When I coach people, they're trying to sell their business, or last year I was in a country. I helped negotiate the sale of 3 homes and two purchases. And I'm not a real estate agent. What I do is I sit down and I walk them through and teach them how to read the contract, how to negotiate. And right now we have one, and they keep telling her, lower the price, lower the price. I said, do not lower the price. Here is what you do. And it's my experience. And so when it comes to notes, I could do the notes, but that's not what I focus on, because I have clients. I had a client, they were, they wanted to sell their church and they didn't know how to deal with this guy. And I went in and deal with this guy. I have a person who is buying a car. I'm a basic financial guy. So if you want to have the notes, the first thing I would say, go to Kevin. Once you get to Kevin and you like partials, go to Dave. And then once you do that a couple of times, you don't need to bother them anymore. But I would suggest they can lead you to opportunities you wouldn't. I said to Dave, when Dave said you should get onto this, I said, up until last year's election and the rise, everybody was out there looking for opportunities. If the moment they see one problem, they go, no, I'll go to the next one. I'll go to the next one. Mm-hmm. And I started to say, hold on a second. Business exists to solve problems. We're going into a period of time, which is about 8, where there's going to be a lot of problems. Find a problem you can fix. And once you can fix that, the opportunity lies on behind that. But don't go in there blind. Go in there, and don't go in there alone. Go in there with who knows the field you're in. Don't go to Dave and ask him about how to trade stocks. Don't go to Kevin and ask him how to trade cryptocurrency, right? If you want that, you come to me, I will tell you where to go. You come to me, you say, I'm interested in notes. The first thing I'm going to find out, what's your base knowledge? If you don't have a base knowledge, I'm going to say, go to Kevin. If you said, well, I want to do partials, I would still say, go to Kevin. And then Kevin will look at what you do for you to understand. And then you'd say, and so go to Dave now, because Dave focuses on it. Dave doesn't focus on a whole bunch of other things. Mm-hmm. The point I'm trying to make to you people out there is an enormous amount of opportunity coming your way if you're not afraid to find a problem you can fix.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell all my clients this: you can go on Google and you can Google a price. You can go on Google, you can Google a product, you can Google a service, you can Google an experience, that's travel, Uber, whatever. The one thing you cannot Google, no matter how hard you try, you cannot Google experience. Mm-hmm. You can Google the guy with the experience, but that's all you're gonna get. Yeah. You need someone with that. I mean, I'm gonna just use Dave as a bit of a joke. Look at that man. That man's been around the block 5 times and gotten punched in the face 10 times. But you know what? When he goes around that block again, he sees the punches coming. He knows where the trip up. So does Kevin. I think when I first met you, Kevin, you had a broken leg.
It wasn't. I was in I was in a soft cast. Yeah. Still up there speaking and running around. Yeah.
So the point. That's right. The point is, everybody is going on Google, think they know everything. Watching YouTube, think they know. Listening to these things. All this really is.
Yeah.
Is to find a guy you're comfortable with, who knows what he's doing, that you can trust. And I can tell people out there, I've known these guys a long time. Mm-hmm. I've known Dave. I think through the pandemic, you and I talked at least an hour every day.
We did. There was a challenge for everybody at that time.
Right. And we became very good friends. I can tell you right now, if Dave came to me and said, I want to borrow $50,000, I just said, sure, pay me back when you get it.
Mm-hmm. And David, when we spoke about this, I started to really research the economy and real estate and everything else, because I definitely got burned in the crash of 2008. And I should have seen some things coming, and I was kind of like, never again. Now, out of that crash, of course, is opportunity. And that's one of the things we're talking about on this podcast. I mean, anytime we've seen cycles like this, there's going to be a recovery, and you want to be well positioned. And part of that, by extension of your conversations here, is educate yourself now for the opportunities that are going
Bingo.
to inevitably come from whatever level of crash this is. But I think most experts agree that there is going to be this projection. And as you were giving that projection, it didn't dawn on me, and I you might have seen me writing something down here, but David, you had sent me a video. I think it was Patrick Ben David video. It was about an hour long. His projection was 6 to 18 months. Do you remember that? Am I wrong, or is that exactly what he said?
That's about 3 weeks ago or so. So yeah.
Where do you
And he approached this, by the way, Howard, he approached this a completely different way than you did. He didn't have that chart. He wasn't going anywhere near the treasury rates. He came to that conclusion using other measures in the overall industry. And I believe this guy's now a billionaire. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but
no, he isn't. I know him quite well.
But whatever wealth he has, a couple $100 million, I don't know. That's what he says is talking about on the video. But he came to that same kind of conclusion of when this, crash and everything is going to occur. And he said it several times, 6 to 18 months. So it's kind of interesting. Footnote, at least. I'll have to go back and look at what that was.
So Kevin, ask David, where did he get the video from?
Oh, he probably got it from you. Is that okay?
So if you look at all my experiences and my educational background, you wouldn't really understand what it is I actually do today. I tell people that when I was 40, I went and I studied information systems and logistics. What is that? Think of Amazon. They just took the old Sears Roebuck model and changed it over. I was in my 40s. That was 20 years ago, and I started to work part-time as a research analyst for 2 MBAs. One was from Wharton, and a Wharton MBA is the top of the top. And the other guy was an engineer, electrical engineer like myself, from USC, and then went to USC to become an MBA. And I was their personal research analyst. What I did for them is I went and get the data for them so they can put it in. And what they did was financial model everything. Mm-hmm. So here's what I worked on, did research on. When Malcolm Forbes died, he died intestate. We needed to value the estate for the IRS. When Pfizer bought an arthritic drug, we had to tell them, we had to work on that to tell them what it is. When George Foreman sold his name to Saltoon, they paid him $100 million. They wanted to know whether they made a good.
So they looked at everything was data driven, is what
everything. Yeah. I am so data driven that, but the biggest one, the toughest one we worked on, okay, is the IRS. The IRS came to us and said a drug company is writing off, they're stopping the researcher, giving it to a university, and they're going to write off all of that, $100 billion right off. And they didn't know how to figure it out. And I remember to this day, because Larry is dead, Larry Gooch is the USC guy, comes in and he says, we just got a case from the IRS. To draw a straight line, and they gave us 1 point, and we got to figure out where the other point is. It took us 9 months, and what we did is we went into that point and fragmented it out and go back in time to get the first point, and then based upon that, we project it would be this. So that is the toughest one I work on.
Right.
The two funnest one I work on.
So hang on. So we're going to run out of time here in just a minute. So based on the data that you've seen, once again, as a kind of a wrap up conclusion here, 6 to 12 months, or 6 to 18, months, we're looking at by your projection, increase in inflation, eventually property, things of value like properties, like real estate, are going to start to come down. I think we've seen them stop now. And again, opportunities are eventually going to arise out of this. So this is a great time, once again, to really recalibrate, start to think about current investments, preserve what you have, be prepared for what happens regardless of the scale, through education and being backed by data that you have seen makes sense. So it's, whether you're off by a small degree or not, I think it behooves everybody to
I want to leave your audience with two things that I've learned over the years. And one of them came from Sir John Templeton at a dinner I was having with him. He says, opportunity comes and opportunity goes. They never seem to come at the opportune time. The second thing is, what you have to look at here is those in 2006, the real estate market had already topped and started going down. Nobody recognized it. And it took 6 years to recover.
Right.
So I just want people to understand, if you're going to wait, it's going to pass you by.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Dave, get some final thoughts for us?
Yeah, I'm going to put out a hook. Kevin, you and I were talking the last couple of days about a particular note that I was looking at in Abilene. Okay? And there's going to be a lot of those notes that are out there that have where the lender was being nice to the payer, and now the lender's got a POS, bottom line, right? If you don't have that knowledge, number one, you got to have that knowledge to recognize why it's bad and how you can benefit from that. If you wait, like Howard said, it's going to pass you by. You need to recognize it, because with that, you're going to be able to buy them at a very, very steep discount, rehab them, and repackage them up and make a significant amount of money per note. And I'm talking, so these are all smaller, but if you buy it for 20 and you resell it for 60 in the course of 4 months, I think that's a pretty good investment.
Yeah.
So to Howard's point, now is the time, plug into whatever you're going to do. If it's us, great. If it's somebody else, great. Get the information and make sure you got a fallback person or group you can go to get help to recognize it and handle it appropriately, so you don't get scars on your back down the road and say, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Fantastic. And I think that's a good thought to leave on today for this episode. All of the contact information, if you want to reach out to Howard, reach out to David or myself, that's going to be in the subject on YouTube there. And please check that out and visit their websites and what they have to offer. And look forward to putting together another podcast. So on behalf of myself and Dave and Howard, thanks everybody, and look forward to talking to you once again very soon.
Thanks, and happy hunting.
Yeah.
Okay.